Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, let's ask the question. When will the crash happen? Let's say I were to sell you something. This could be anything, really. And this was now the price up here. And you know the history of that price to the exact point. Would you say that this is a good place to buy? What upside are you looking for buying up here? Is this a good investment? Are you going to double your money? I see this chart right here, the S&P 500. And this seems very expensive. Since the lows of the great financial crisis in 2008, down here, or the low was in 2009, we have seen gains of almost a 10x. And this doesn't really represent value because we've had inflation and things like that, but this is a reference point. Is it realistic that this continues on? And people have been talking about crashes for years. Since 2015, the next Great Depression and things like that. Because we have seen a great bull market since World War II, I would say. So let's look at the Dow and Jones and get into some of these. I'll use a full screen to make this more accessible, I guess. So what do we see right here? This is the Dow and Jones, the value of the Dow and Jones industrial average. The S&P had almost a 10x. Here, the gains since the bottom of 2009, after the great financial crisis, we have seen gains of 670%. This is a good run, a good 20-year run. Almost 20-year run. And you might look at this chart and wonder, what are these white lines that I have? This is sort of a myth, a sort of cycle that repeats itself every 7 years. And yeah, I'll just spill it. What you see from white line to white line in between these two are what's been called the Shemitah, or the sabbatical year in the Jewish calendar, which is sort of a year of resets, or I don't really know the history or the religious purpose, but history usually repeats itself. Cycles seem to be a thing. The Earth goes around the sun, and things happen in life, and it's quite the journey for everyone, and the story is pretty similar. We experience crashes and gains, and I'm not fully schizophrenic, but I'll just talk about this. So every 7 years, there is this sort of Shemitah year, and usually during financial crisis, like for example in 2008, like big major sort of crashes or resets. They usually happen during this period, or straight before or straight after. Like this is 1 year, and if we like counted 1 year before this year and 1 year after, this would sort of be a period where maybe it's better to hold cash. And after sort of you see sort of the biggest gains are usually outside of this phase. And this year includes sort of a reset, or a period where things are sort of calmer. And this next 7 year, this next like sabbatical year, Shemitah year, is in it starts September 2028. And I would be very cautious of investing like from a year before this. Like 2027. I would probably choose to like have cash, or maybe try to short the market. This is not financial advice. I'm just sort of speculating the markets here, because everyone is sort of have seen this and are asking themselves, when is this crash going to happen? So yeah, but as we see from the bottom of 2008, this is a good 18-year run of almost 700%. Like, and on the S&P it was almost a 10x. And if we can look at the Nasdaq as well, which is crazy. This had a 25x, 2000, almost 2,500%. And this is like not seen. And is it really realistic that this just continues and expands and goes on and on and on and on? Who knows? I truly believe that things in life and in general usually improves for the better. That we usually always see good times ahead, but that might be after certain resets, and that we sort of need corrections to sort of maybe come closer to truths, to prove different frauds. Like for example, Bitcoin, that was launched as a result after the crisis in 2008. Like everything sort of happens for the greater good, I would say, or I would believe. But yes, let's go deeper into the Dow and Jones, because this is more accurate historically. And I'm just going to jump straight up 100 years back in time. We're approaching in 2029, which will be 1 year. Like when the Shemitah year or sabbatical year exits, it will be 100 years since the Great Depression of the 1930s. So let's just jump back. And we need to adjust the chart, so to try to, I'm sort of spoiling what I'm supposed to say here, but so yeah, we see this hockey stick right here. So we can go, I guess we can go, if we're going to compare, like try to make something similar from the bottom of 2008 until today, I would go here to the bottom of 1907 here. And we can see that the gains are pretty similar. 644%. And today we saw almost like 700 on the Dow Jones, and the S&P was 900. And the Nasdaq was 2,500. But we're sort of approaching this area where things are expensive, very expensive, and the upside is like, what is it? Is it realistic that we would see like sort of 1,000% on the Dow Jones? I don't think so. I think history repeats itself. We might see this bull market going on for one more year, but warning signs are beginning to show up, really. And yeah. And this is almost 100 years ago, and like the inflation was probably not the same back then as it is today. So inflation adjusted, maybe this increase is even more. But as we see on the Nasdaq is 2,500%. So I guess it doesn't like mean that much, but in the Great Depression, which I guess it was Black Tuesday, I don't remember Black Monday, but I think Black Monday was 1986. But this was 1 year before this sort of sabbatical year. The Shemitah year was in the middle of the sort of this great decline of 90% on a major indice. Like, this is unheard of. This would be crazy if it happened today. And it has happened before. We are sort of in this phase right here where people say that, oh, the stock market can't go down. There are these theories that, inflation will just go up and up and up, and this will just continue on. But when we look at history, this has happened before. It can happen again. So I guess Black Tuesday was like 1 year before this sort of sabbatical year in September of 1930. And then we saw this huge bear market with this reset here in the middle of it. So 1 year before, during, and after was a great crash. And then we had, of course, after great crashes, things go slowly up again. And here, during the sabbatical year, again, this is called the depression of the Great Depression, sort of, in 1937, 38, which is 1 year before World War II. And this sort of led up to this World War. And then during the World War, the markets were trading sideways. And here, after war, there's always, 1945 here, there's always gains. People are happy that the suffering has ended, and sort of this baby boom cycle that has sort of created, I guess, Western society as we see today. They were born in this period from 1945 until 1960. This is probably like sort of a golden age. Maybe. I don't know how I would describe it, but and so we see a bull market during these years, and the sabbatical year doesn't really have an effect as it had before, like here and here. But so we see a great bull market, and we also see crashes outside of the sabbatical year. So this is not set in stone. Things can happen in the middle of between and after. But yeah, here a sabbatical year in Shemitah year in from 1965 to 1966, you see a decrease. And then there's a decrease right in between. And here, I think this was the oil crisis in 1973, sort of. The bottom was there. So the top was at the beginning, or in sort of in the middle of the Shemitah, and then we saw a huge crash, 50% decrease almost. And the bottom like 1 year later after. And then the bull market sort of continues. Becomes more technological, more people, more investments, more technology. Like this sort of represents all of that. But here, after the Shemitah year, this was Black Monday. See this candle right here? I guess the stock market opened. This is like the end of the week, and it opened way below. This was from the top here. 40% crash over just 2 months almost. At the end of this sabbatical year. And then the bull market continues. Like these are huge resets. It's been a long time since we've sort of seen these kind of resets. But they can happen, as they have done plenty of times before. So, after this sort of reset, things continue to go upwards. And this is like a period of inflation as well and everything. This is a huge, like from the bottom of 1987, and then we go 13 years ahead to the top before the dot-com crash. The dot-com bubble, which the top was in 2000, and the crash sort of started in this sabbatical year. Shemitah year of in 2001, which saw from the top it was close to 40% crash, and this hit the Nasdaq the most. The Nasdaq is here. So it's called the dot-com bubble. Here. From 2000 to 2002, an 83% crash. A huge sort of bubble in tech companies and things like that. So let's go back to the Dow Jones, which saw, yeah, right here. Almost 40% crash. And then a new bull market until the great financial crisis, which hit off, like the major crash sort of happened right after the sabbatical year. Huge declines here, 44% in just a couple of months. But from the top here at the beginning of this reset year, this cyclical 7-year cycle, 54% reset. And then since this, we have just seen a huge bull market. Huge bull market up until today. Sort of trending sideways in 2014, 2015. And then sort of a small reset in 2022. And this is the COVID crash right here. So, what do you think? Like, how much is there more to the upside? And what will happen here during, like, I'll say from 2027 until 2030? This is 100 years exactly since the Great Depression. Will we see resets of the monetary system? New technologies coming forwards, truths being revealed about how this has been a scam for people and how big companies have earned money in immoral ways as sort of resets happen. Because this is weird. Major companies just thriving in value and a lot of normal people just living paycheck to paycheck. This doesn't really make sense if you're following. So I am thinking maybe it's an opportunity to hold cash again. Do you think we have one more year of upsides? But I think something is going to happen here, where we might see crashes down to the lows of we have 60% during the lows of COVID, and if we do the lows of this is crazy though, but yeah, I guess something will happen because this is just crazy. Things don't go up forever. They can't. Nothing does. Cycles repeat. History repeats. Human behaviors are the same. We are not that different from 100 years ago, even though technology has improved and everything that goes with it. And what will happen to the Nasdaq, which has seen this increase? Imagine seeing a crash down to the lows of COVID. This is 75%. Something to keep in mind. I'm not trying to scare you, or this is just sort of an observation. And I sort of read of this Shemitah cycle, and I realized that many of the crashes happen during these years. Resets. It's not for certain though, but I think this is interesting, exciting. So yeah, thanks for watching, and you can leave a comment below. What do you think is going to happen? good to invest in? What will happen to Bitcoin during this period? Yeah, take care. Bye.